Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to another episode of the Developer Council. We're in the studio today, and we're here to talk about some of the news that's been going on in computer science. So, let's get started. So, one of the first things I want to touch on is the adoption of this thing called LowCode. You might be familiar with it if you work in industry currently. I'm talking about pretty much, Microsoft Power Apps, Logic apps, applications where you can pretty much drag and drop things onto a display and then run it as code. You're not actually going in and programming, you're just, doing some tasks automatically with a drag and drop framework. This is, I don't know, I have mixed feelings about it. It's happening, it's really easy. Essentially, you can do very powerful things with these low code applications like sending an email. When XYZ happens, you want to, have a trigger and have something else, within your system take place. If you're using Microsoft, this is really awesome. I know that for their, Azure Sentinel and some of their Azure incident response things, they actually use Logic apps to, notify the correct people and execute a recovery plan when things go wrong in Azure. So if you're using Microsoft Sentinel, it's everything that is automated is pretty much built on Logic apps. But, we can see here that low code is on the rise. It's really nice for startups. It's really nice for, non-tech companies, non-SaaS companies that just need to do some automation but don't have enough money to hire a developer. As a developer myself, it is a little bit scary knowing that the job is getting less and less challenging, but that's good for businesses. It just means that, stick technical if you're going that developer route and don't get stuck in one of these low code situations where, you're no longer doing what you love. So yeah, we talked about how industry is getting less technical. Now let's dive into something a little bit more technical. Yes, we're talking about post-quantum cryptography. Wow, exciting times, guys. This is on the Cloudflare blog. If you don't know Cloudflare, they are pretty much one of the biggest CDN, content delivery network companies out there. Essentially, if you're running a web server and you want low latency globally, Cloudflare will just host your website on a bunch of different, edge nodes. So that way, instead of, someone in India trying to ping your server in Atlanta, Georgia, they can, ping a server in India that is also hosting your same website, and it gets that nice time. That's CDN stuff. We're talking about post-quantum cryptography. So what are we talking about here? Well, if you don't know, I think in June of this year, NIST, the National Institute Standards and Technology, they're an organization that pretty much defines all the standards of the internet. Not all of them, but when it comes to cryptography, they definitely have their hands in it. They came up with, DES, DES, triple DES, AES, and now, they're aiming towards that post-quantum cryptography. Why is this a big deal, and why are we rushing it so quickly? Well, theoretically, if someone is hoarding internet traffic, if someone's just has their Wireshark open for the next 10 years, however many years until quantum computers become publicly available, they could just go back in time and crack all the packets that were sent that they captured and hoarded. So you want to start encrypting your internet traffic with this post-quantum thing, so that way when quantum computers come out and all the internet traffic of the world can get decrypted, it's going to be like 20 years old, 30 years old documents, and it's not going to affect you as a person. Some of these companies that are maybe sharing, very secret documents, I don't know exactly what their recovery plan is going to be for stuff like that. But it is definitely something interesting that's on the rise. And with this is pretty huge. I think if we scroll down into this document, we'll kind of see a diagram of how this post-quantum thing is going to work. Cloudflare, they're a service. They are a platform as a service pretty much. And if you are, using their service, you're going to have your own origin server. And they don't want you to have to worry about this post-quantum cryptography at all. As application developers, they don't want you to have to get sophisticated with it. They just want you to be able to click a button on their platform, and boom, the post-quantum encryption is enabled. And that's exactly how they kind of have it set up. And so you can kind of see if you're using Cloudflare, you can have your origin server and their edges. The edge nodes themselves are going to handle all that cryptography. All you have to do is they have instructions in here, but you're just going to set a post-quantum flag to true. And bada bing, bada boom, you're set. And this stuff is using Kyber. Yes, you heard that right. It's going to be one of the first post-quantum. I'm trying to find it in this article here. Yes, here we go. For general encryption, NIST has selected Crystal's Kyber, which, if that sounds familiar, it's because it is a Star Wars reference to Kyber crystals. We're nerds, alright? And I respect that name. That's a cool name. Freaking Kyber. We go from, all these acronyms that are just like, cool, I guess. No, they're not cool. They just sound like, bureaucracy. AES, DES. Now we have Kyber. So exciting. So very cool. And, this isn't just Cloudflare that's doing this. I believe if we go to, this is their benchmarks. There was a list somewhere. Who knows where? It's on the website. It's on one of these websites somewhere. But there was a list of all the companies that are like, partnering up with Nest and are planning on, rolling out their own implementations of this algorithm. Amazon, Microsoft, Apple, all the big companies that are doing Internet of Things and that have their hands in building frameworks for application developers, they're going to have their own library functions that can be called to use this Kyber cryptography. It's coming out on HTTP 3. It's something that's in the pipeline. This was also, disclosed in June of 2022. And it is going to pretty much change the internet in a big way. For all you networking nerds out there, network engineers, security engineers, you might be familiar with something called TCP and UDP. That's, how it's always been. You have your transport protocol. And we can see that, that was established in 1974, and they're coming out with a new protocol, a new network protocol called QUIC, or QUIC, which is going to be a multiplexed version of TCP built upon UDP for that asynchronous stuff. And it's been, known to be a huge increase in bandwidth, in times. I guess, when you're sending large packets, if you can do it asynchronously, why not? And this is going to be with HTTP 3. I'm not sure if anyone is familiar with, the difference between HTTP 1.1 and 2.0, but it feels like it's been a pretty quick turnaround from, 2 to 3, and they have a whole entire RFC document on this, and I am not smart enough to go through and read all the things that are coming with this, but we can see, June 2022, we're talking about HTTP 3 with this QUIC protocol replacing TCP. So pretty big stuff, and this post-quantum encryption is going to be a part of that and used. If we went to, I want to say, did we have the Kyber pulled up on Wikipedia? We do. That there's going to be a couple different versions of bits that are used within this Kyber protocol. We can use this Kyber 512, 760, and there was like a 1024. So there's some pretty big key difference here. It's supposed to run just as quick as AES, but the size of the keys are pretty big. You know, these ciphertexts are going to be pretty big in bytes, 2,400 bytes of data. And according to this Wikipedia article, you know, it says like 4 kilobytes of memory can be sufficient for these cryptographic operations, which, you know, 4 kilobytes just for cryptographic operations seems pretty huge in the grand scheme of things. I mean, that just means every time you open up Chrome, every time you open up the web browser, there's, bam, 4 kilobytes of memory just for encryption. However, you know, they do talk about how we could probably see some hardware like acceleration in the future going on motherboards and all that jazz. So you'd have like a dedicated chip on the motherboard that will handle all that different encryption that's going to be coming through your system. But that is post-quantum cryptography, guys. Sorry, there's like so many Wikipedia pages or so many internet pages open, you know, jumping through them all. We'll have links in the description if you want to read them yourselves. Definitely check out the Cloudflare blog because they go into, and that's why I love the Cloudflare blog, they go into like direct details of how this is going to be implemented, and you know, they're very open about how they're going to implement this post-quantum cryptography stuff. So in this last section, what we're going to talk about, I guess, is the hack of the week. Favorite attack of the week? I don't know. I do like cybersecurity stuff though. And in this article, we have hackers using something called application mode or app mode in Chromium browsers to phish, you know, victims, phish potential people that would fall for this. And let me tell you, this type of phishing attack is definitely something that I could see myself falling for. Could you imagine like clicking on a program and it prompts you to, you know, sign in? You know, this seems like such a normal thing to do. You're opening up an app and it's like, oh, it's using freaking OAuth, OpenID Connect, and it wants my, you know, sign in stuff. And so you type it in, da 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 da. Wow, this is the real and this is the fake. Tell me you can see the difference, because it is spot on. And why is this a thing? Well, you can actually start up apps. You know, when we start up an application, you can create a shortcut and then you can give it like some command line arguments. And one of the command line arguments you can pass is this thing called application mode. And it basically just hides the address bar and it gives you a fav icon. And so you can kind of see here, like, you're starting up your web browser without the URL being shown, but you still get, you know, like the title at the top, and you still get the fav icon. So you can't tell where you're logging in at in this application mode. It's just you're going through whatever process is in front of you. I will say, if we look into this article, that this app feature is going to be deprecated. I think that they realize that this is, you know, there's potential for abuse in this application mode, and they're just going to deprecate it out. But if you are working in industry right now and someone comes to you and says, hey, let's make this an application mode, be like, no, that is deprecated. That is bad. We will use just a regular HTML web page, even if it looks cool, okay? I know it looks cool. It looks slick if you make your application in app mode, but just press F12 and put it in full screen. I don't know. Yeah, no, that is going to wrap it up, folks. We talked about, you know, some developments in the low code space, post-quantum encryption, and an attack of the week. The Google Cloud conference, I think it's called, you know, Google Next, is taking place tomorrow and through the remainder of the week. And so I hope to have some news in the next video about what Google is planning on when it comes to cloud, when it comes to security. Yeah, so thanks for watching. Like and subscribe. Peace.